Hello and welcome to the latest video on my top 1000 countdown. Now in this video we are going from numbers 990 down to 981. So at the end of this video 20 of the top 1000 have been unveiled. So let us go to the first fighter. Fighter number 990, and it is Jeff Harding. Jeff Harding defeated two world champions. He fought 51 rounds against champions, and Jeff Harding defeated no Hall of Fame fighters individually. He did fight 12 rounds against Hall of Famers in his career, and Jeff Harding had a total of 6 fights against rated fighters. Yep, Drunk Irishman. Good to see you. So anyway, in terms of KOs, Jeff Harding scored 17 KOs. He scored 6 KOs in 3 rounds or less, and he scored 0 KOs in the first round. Now, Jeff Harding was top 10 rated for 7 years, and his longest unbeaten run was an unbeaten run of 17 fights in total. Jeff Harding was pound for pound rated for 0 years. Yeah, who is that fighter on your profile? It's small, I can't see it from here. Yeah, I can't see it from here. Jeff Harding had 2 fights against pound for pound fighters overall. He scored 1 win against a pound for pound fighter, but 0 wins against pound for pound top 3 and pound for pound number 1 rated fighters. And Jeff Harding's opposition fought rate is 1 from 18, and his opposition beat rate is 1 from 13. Jimmy McLarnin, very interesting. I knew someone in Ireland who was a big fan of Jimmy McLarnin. So anyway, Jeff Harding, okay, had 5 fights against champions. Okay, he scored 3 wins, 2 losses, no draws with 2 KOs. He had 1 fight against a Hall of Famer. Okay, that was a defeat. And Jeff Harding had a total of 8 world title fights, scoring 6 wins, 2 losses, no draws, and making 4 title defences. So Jeff Harding is the first fighter in this video to be featured. When we go on to fighter number 989, it's former cruiserweight champion Wayne Braithwaite. Now Wayne Braithwaite defeated 1 world champion in his career. He fought 43 rounds against champions, and Wayne Braithwaite beat 0 Hall of Fame fighters individually. He also fought no rounds against Hall of Famers, and Braithwaite had a total of 8 fights during his career against rated fighters. Now in terms of KOs, Wayne Braithwaite scored 20 KOs inside the distance. Inside the distance. He scored 13 KOs in 3 rounds or less, and he scored 4 first round wins. Now Wayne Braithwaite himself was top 10 rated as a fighter for 5 years. The longest unbeaten run in his career was an unbeaten run of 21 fights in total. But Wayne Braithwaite was never pound for pound rated in my all-time rankings, and he had no fights against pound for pounders, thus scores 0 wins against pound for pounders over the 3 categories listed. His opposition fought rate is also 1 from 18, like a whole number of fighters are down at this stage, and his opposition beat rate is 1 from 13. Yeah, just to expand on that a little bit, a friend of mine asked me earlier to explain the opposition fought rate and beat rate, and this is how he explained it. If Muhammad Ali and Sonny Liston got into a pizza making contest, okay, and Muhammad Ali made 15 pieces and Liston made 7 pieces, okay, then Ali has done a lot more. He's done just over double what Liston did. Okay, that is the best way of explaining it without exposing my criteria, what I'll never do. But basically, the opposition fought and beat rate, the 18 and 13 are an equivalence to the highest total in both those categories. So if a fighter has got an opposition fought rate of 9 from 18, he's done under my rating system approximately half in terms of opposition fought as what the top number there did. Okay, if he's fought an opposition rate of 6, he's done a third of what the top scoring fighter in that category did. Okay, and it's the same with the opposition beat rate. So anyway, Wayne Braithwaite, okay, he had 5 fights against champions. He scored 1 win with 4 losses, no draws and 1 KO. He had no fights against Hall of Famers. And in terms of title fights, Wayne Braithwaite had 6 in total, scoring 4 wins with 2 losses, no draws and 3 title defences. So leaving Braithwaite and going on to fighter number 988, okay, is Gene Hatcher. Now, Gene Hatcher defeated 4 individual world champions. He fought 78 rounds against champions, and Gene Hatcher beat no Hall of Fame fighters individually, and he fought no rounds against Hall of Famers. Gene Hatcher did have 10 fights in his career against rated fighters, and in terms of KOs, he scored a total of 23 throughout his career. 10 of those were in 3 rounds or less, and he scored 3 KOs in the first round. Now, Gene Hatcher was top 10 rated as a fighter for 2 years, and the longest unbeaten run in his career was an unbeaten run of 14 fights. Gene Hatcher was never pound for pound top 10 rated in my all-time pound for pound rankings. He did have 3 fights overall against pound for pounders, and he scored 1 win against a pound for pounder, but did not score any wins against top 3 or pound for pound number 1 rated fighters. His opposition fought rate is also 1 from 18, and his opposition beat rate is 1 from 13. Gene Hatcher had a total of 8 fights against champions, scoring 4 wins with 4 losses and no draws and 1 KO. He has 0 fights against Hall of Famers, and in title fights he has a total of 4, scoring 2 wins with 2 losses, no draws, and making 1 title defence. So there's Gene Hatcher in 988. When we go on to fight number 987, we're going back in time a little bit, okay, to Tom McCormick. Now, Tom McCormick, okay, beat 1 world champion. He fought 26 rounds against champions, and McCormick never defeated a Hall of Fame fighter individually. He did fight 12 rounds against Hall of Famers, and he had 0 fights against rated fighters, obviously being pre-rating era. Now, in terms of KOs, Tom McCormick scored 17 KOs. He scored 8 KOs in 3 rounds or less, and he scored 4 KOs in the first round. Tom McCormick was top 10 rated for 0 years, obviously being pre-rating era, and his longest unbeaten run was an unbeaten run of 25 fights. Now, Tom McCormick was never pound for pound rated in my all-time rankings, and he had 0 fights against pound for pounders, and thus scored 0 wins in any of the 3 pound for pound opponent categories. His opposition fought rate, okay, is 1 from 18, and his opposition beat rate is 1 from 13. Now, Tom McCormick had 2 fights against champions, okay, scoring 1 win with 1 loss, no draws and 0 KOs. He has 0 fights against Hall of Famers. Well, no, he does have a fight against Hall of Fame. Sorry, but he didn't win it. I've not put it on. And he had 3 title fights, scoring 2 wins, 1 loss, no draw with 1 title defence. So there's Tom McCormick in number 987, okay. When we go on to 986, okay, it is the dangerous fighter, Hank Griffin. Now, Hank Griffin was not an elite level fighter, okay, but he could be troublesome. He gave Jack Johnson some difficult fights, as well as giving some other fighters difficult fights. Other fighters beat him without, you know, having overly too much trouble. But yeah, he could be a handful on his day. Hank Griffin, okay, beat 2 world champions. He fought a total of 120 rounds against champions, and he beat 1 individual Hall of Fame fighter. Hank Griffin fought 89 rounds against Hall of Famers overall, but being pre-rated era, had 0 fights against rated fighters. Griffin did score 23 KOs. He scored 12 KOs in 3 rounds or less, and he scored 3 KOs in the first round. Now, Hank Griffin was top 10 rated for 0 years. The longest unbeaten run in his career was an unbeaten run of 12 fights in total, and he was pound for pound rated for 0 years. Now, Hank Griffin had 5 fights against pound for pound rated fighters. He scored 1 win apiece against pound for pound fighters overall, and then pound for pound top 3 fighters and pound for pound number 1 fighters, so 1 win in each category. His opposition fought rate is 1 from 18, although he was very close to 2 from 18. Didn't quite make that grade, and his opposition beat rate is 1 from 13. So Hank Griffin, okay, had 8 fights against champions. He scored 2 wins with 2 losses and 4 draws with 0 KOs. He has 5 fights against Hall of Famers, including 1 win, 1 loss and 3 draws with 0 KOs, and he has 0 title fights, so no record there. So from Hank Griffin in 986, we go to fighter number 985, okay, a fighter called Yo Sam Choi. Now, Yo Sam Choi, okay, beat 1 world champion. He fought 49 rounds against champions, and he beat 0 Hall of Fame fighters, and he also fought no rounds against Hall of Famers. Now, Yo Sam Choi had 6 fights against rated fighters in his career. He scored a total of 19 knockouts, scoring 6 of them in 3 rounds or less, and scoring 4 first round KOs. Now, Yo Sam Sam Choi was top 10 rated as a fighter for a respectable 7 years. So he was round the top 10 rankings for quite a while. His longest unbeaten run was one of 13 fights, but he was never pound for pound rated in my all-time rankings. Now, Yo Sam Choi did have 2 fights against pound for pound rated fighters in his career. He scored 2 wins against pound for pound fighters, but 0 wins against pound for pound top 3 or pound for pound number 1 fighters. And Yo Sam Choi's opposition fought rate is 1 from 18, and his opposition beat rate is 1 from 13. So in terms of fights against champions overall, Yo Sam Choi had 5, scoring 2 wins with 3 losses, no draws and 1 KO. He has 0 fights against Hall of Famers. And in title fights, Yo Sam Choi had a total of 6, scoring 4 wins with 2 losses, no draws and 3 title defences. So there's Yo Sam Choi, 985. When we go on to fight number 984, okay, is Richie Sandoval. Now, Richie Sandoval, okay, beat 1 world champion. He fought 22 rounds against champions, and he beat 1 individual Hall of Fame fighter, and he fought 15 rounds against Hall of Famers. Now, Richie Sandoval had 8 fights against rated opposition. He scored a total of 17 knockouts in his career, 11 KOs in 3 rounds or less, and Sandoval also scored 5 KOs in the first round. Now, he was top 10 rated as a fighter for a total of 3 years, and Richie Sandoval, okay, had a longest unbeaten run that ran to 29 fights. Now, he was never pound for pound rated in my all-time rankings, but he did have 1 fight against pound for pound fighter, and Richie Sandoval won that fight. He did not, however, score any wins against pound for pound top 3 or pound for pound number 1 rated fighters. Now, Richie Sandoval's opposition fought rate is 1 from 18, and his opposition beat rate is 1 from 13. So Sandoval, in terms of fights against champions, had a total of 2, including 1 win, 1 loss, no draw with 1 KO. He has 1 fight against a Hall of Famer that was a win and a KO, and he has 4 world title fights, scoring 3 wins with 1 loss, no draws and 2 title defences. So from Sandoval in 984, we're going to fight number 983, Takashi Miura. Now, Takashi Miura, okay, beat 2 world champions. He fought 51 rounds against champions. And Miura beat no Hall of Fame fighters. He fought no rounds against Hall of Famers, and he had a total of 8 fights against rated fighters throughout his career. Now, Miura scored 24 KOs, 15 KOs inside 3 rounds or less, and he also scored 7 first round wins. Now, Takashi Miura was top 10 rated as a fighter for a total of 4 years. The longest unbeaten run in his career was an unbeaten run of 13 fights, but he was never pound for pound rated. Takashi Miura had 0 fights against pound for pound fighters, therefore scores no wins in either of the 3 pound for pound categories listed. His opposition fought rate is 1 from 18, and his opposition beat rate is 1 from 13. Now, in terms of fights against champions, Takashi Miura had 6 fights, scoring 2 wins with 4 losses, no draws and 2 KOs. He has no fights against Hall of Famers, but he did have a respectable 8 world title fights, scoring 5 wins with 3 losses, no draws and making 4 title defences. So there's Takashi Miura in 983. Okay, when we go to fight number 982, okay, it is Yong So Choi. Now, Yong So Choi, okay, defeated 2 world champions. He fought 57 rounds against champions. And Yong So Choi beat no Hall of Fame fighters, and he fought no rounds against Hall of Famers. He did have a total of 7 fights against rated fighters throughout his career. And Yong So Choi scored 21 knockouts, 5 of them in 3 rounds or less, and he scored 1 first round win. Now, Yong So Choi was top 10 rated for a total of 6 years. The longest unbeaten run in his career was an unbeaten run of 19 fights, but Yong So Choi was never pound for pound rated, and he also had 0 fights against pound for pounders, so therefore scores no wins in the pound for pound categories. In terms of opposition fought rate, Yong So Choi, not surprising, is 1 from 18. That will diversify. A lot of fighters down at this level score that in both categories, but as we go, you'll see some fighters creeping up, and it will get to a point where one guy guy will score 3, another guy I'm looking at will score 8, another guy I'm looking at will score 13. It does get to that point, okay, but it just takes some time. We're still at the very lowly level of my top 1,000, so it'll take some time to get moving. The opposition beat rate is also 1 from 13. Now, Young So Choi, okay, had 5 fights against champions, scoring 2 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw with 1 KO. He has 0 fights against Hall of Famers, and he has also a respectable title record of 10 world title fights, including 7 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw, and 7 title defences. So, from Young So Choi 982, we'll go on to the final fighter for this current video, and it is James DeGale. Now, James DeGale, okay, beat 3 world champions. He fought 76 rounds against champions, and DeGale beat no Hall of Fame fighters, but he did fight 12 rounds against Hall of Famers, and James DeGale had a total of 7 fights overall against rated fighters. Now, James DeGale scored 15 knockouts in his career. 8 of those KOs were in 3 rounds or less, and James DeGale scored 3 KOs in the first round. Now, DeGale was top 10 rated for a total of 7 years. He had a longest unbeaten run, okay, that ran to 14 fights, and he was pound for pound rated for 0 years. Now, DeGale, okay, had no fights against pound for pound rated fighters, therefore scored no wins in any of the categories against pound for pounders, and the opposition fought rate for DeGale was 1 from 18, and the opposition beat rate was 1 from 13. I never really took to James DeGale. I don't really have favourites as such. I just watch boxing because I enjoy it. Doesn't really matter who I'm watching. You know, unlike many on YouTube, I don't get fixated on 1 or 2 fighters. You know, and just completely go mindless, you know, whenever they're on TV. You know, I kind of watch I'm very varied in boxing what I watch, but I never really took to him. I don't know if it was his personality, because he had one of those personalities that could rub you up wrong way if you didn't understand him, and you know, I don't know what it was about him. You know, he had a lot of talent, but I still also don't think he really accomplished what his talent could have let him accomplish. James DeGale, it's a bit of a funny one. But yeah, I never really took to him as such. Watched most of his fights he had. Those available I pretty much watched. But yeah, never really took to him. So James DeGale, okay, had 6 fights against champions. He scored a total of 3 wins with 2 losses, 1 draw and 1 KO. Thing about DeGale as well, I always thought, you know, from his earlier fights, I don't know what it is. So many fighters don't reach the potential. It's almost like, how can I put it? It's almost like with a lot of fighters, it can be matchmaking, it can be problems that crop up. You know, there's a lot of things that can go on. And I think sometimes people don't appreciate, you know, just how careers can be disrupted. Sometimes even from, you know, innocent kind of things. You know, it's really strange, actually. I've actually put DeGale a Hall of Fame fight on there, but he shouldn't have one. I've made some boobers on this one. You see, I think the thing with sometimes when I start these processes, I go too quick, even for myself. You know, no one's perfect, but no, DeGale, to my knowledge, doesn't have any Hall of Fame fights. So title fights, okay, he has 6, scoring 4 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw with 3 title defences. Yeah, James DeGale. Yeah, it's funny. It's like George Groves, you know. James DeGale, a big rival to DeGale, pictured. They had a big grudge match, and you know, he was another one. He could rub you up wrong way. But he was a very, very good fighter, like DeGale was. But then, you know, he got to the Froch fights. He fought really well in first one. You know, Froch ironed him out in second one. After that, he was going on and on. You know, he did become a world champion. Groves was a skilled fighter, but never again really accomplished what I thought he could have accomplished. Yeah, it's funny how that happens. Lots of things can affect a career. But yeah, I will be far more careful. I'll be more careful on future videos. I always do this. I always start out and I start rushing them, and then before you know it, I'm like spotting things here or there. I think it's really sad. I still think I'm really sad that I can spot them. But, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I'll start and be more careful and double check everything a bit more ruthlessly. I'm doing everything in a bit more of a relaxed way now. I'm not as pressured as I used to be, so I apologise for the 2 little misdemeanors on this video. There's no excuse. I should do better. I'll try and tighten those up going forward. But I did exactly the same on my last Top 1000. Did first 10-15 videos. I was like, God. And then I got really wound up with myself and triple checked everything over and over again. So that's what I'll do now. Anyway, there's my latest video. Okay, ultimately, who else? How will the top 1000 play out? Well, that will be exposed over time. There's 8 more videos in this first section before we go back to some more career videos while I prepare the next 100, going from 900 to 801. That's how I'm going to do it this time, okay, to break it up so I'm not having to power through it non-stop, so no career videos are getting done. The career videos are just as important, so I'm going to mix it up a bit. By end of year, the top 1000 will be done. There'll be hundreds of career videos on there, so I'll consider that a good start for the first year. But anyway, I'm the boxing librarian. I'm going to go have a coffee now and chill out in my big pint pot, and yeah, chill out and catch up on the latest news from Ukraine and other things. So I will catch you all later. I am out for now.